Traingate, Donald Trump. I think our boy JC as well at some point. You're going to start with Traingate on your own?
I'm going to start with Traingate because you may or may not remember it. I'm sure you do remember it. It was the #1, the must-watch story of last summer. Jeremy Corbyn, whilst fighting the Labour leadership campaign against Owen Smith,
I think that was his name.
Was that his name? Owen Smith, right? And he was on his way to a hustings in Gateshead. And of course, Jeremy, normal guy with his entourage, got on the train. They hadn't reserved tickets. They weren't using first class. And they were reduced to having to just sit in the passages between the seating in the various carriages. And of course, Jeremy was with a freelance videographer. And they decided to do a quick video. And he was saying, look, this is the reality of private ownership with trains.
Overpriced, overcrowded, badly organised.
Yeah, doesn't work. This was on the 11th of August 2016. So that video which was produced, that was then given to The Guardian. They then posted it. And it kicked up a real fuss because Richard Branson, the leech, the benefit scrounger, par excellence, said, well, actually, this is inaccurate. This is...
fake news.
This is fake news. This is, you know, opportunism. And actually, he showed various videos and pictures which showed there were very many seats freely available and unreserved. So we're now going to cut to a video by our good friends, DDN, Double Down News. Follow them on Facebook. Today we finally know the truth. Guess what? Jeremy Corbyn was honest. Richard Branson, shame on you for Bransonsplaining, was lying. Let's watch that video right now.
Remember Traingate?
Today this train is completely ram-packed.
These are the CCTV clips Richard Branson didn't show you. What you are seeing for the first time in public are many other passengers sat on the floor of the same Virgin train Jeremy Corbyn and his team travelled on. What about all those empty seats he passed? The image tweeted by Richard Branson claiming to show unreserved seats clearly shows reserved seats. But there were other images leaked to the press by Virgin Trains.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 seats with no tickets. What on earth?
That picture is the most embarrassing thing about this for Jeremy Corbyn.
So I come to my initial point, my central point. He's a chump.
Let's have a closer look at those so-called empty seats. This was the image much of the media was happy to show the world. Apparently showing Jeremy Corbyn in his group of 5 walking past empty seats. But what the footage reveals is that most of these seats were in fact occupied.
This is ridiculous, right? There are no, and then I mean, you're like, oh my God, they're actually all full.
Some passengers are only visible when they move into frame.
Yeah, it's really good.
Others are children not shown in the initial photo.
Also, everybody walks through. Are they all fucking like...
Yeah, it has to be a pretty big conspiracy.
This is the truth behind Traingate.
Today this train is completely ram-packed.
These are the...
We're back?
We're back? Yeah, so that was a really good video. Go like Double Down News on Facebook.
Forensically done.
Forensic. I mean, I'd say go work for the police, but don't work for the police. Stay and work for us. Stay and work for a different kind of country. So yeah, I mean, the thing, before we move on, can I just say, Nick Ferrari, who was he with?
I was with Anushka Asthana, who's the political editor of The Guardian.
And he called him a chump? Does he call Jeremy Corbyn a chump?
And I think he called him a chump. But they were both just like, oh yeah, this was so embarrassing for him. And Anushka Asthana didn't challenge. She was just like, oh yeah, that picture was the most embarrassing one. It's fake news.
It's fake news. And now, let's talk about real chumps. Nick Ferrari, you are fake news. You're the chump. And now he's presenting Newsnight.
Yeah.
In his he looks like a Braintree estate agent. In mauve fucking shirt and then a deep purple tie.
It's interesting because I say it wasn't fake news because we had a source. But I mean, their source was Richard Branson.
It was the CEO of the fucking company.
Yeah. So that is not a neutral, unbiased source. And also, any idiot who's ever sat down on the train knows that often seats will look empty from afar when there's actually someone in them. That's why you have to walk down the carriage.
Yeah. And also, look, I mean, there may just be an alternative motive here. I don't know. You know, it may be because Jeremy Corbyn was campaigning about bringing rail back into public ownership, which was the easiest thing to do, by the way, right? Yes,
very popular.
Water, energy may be quite difficult to renationalise. Trains are super easy. You wait for the licence to run out, and then you say, you're not going to take any more of public money. See you later. Go back to your tax haven island,
and the Virgin Gravy train will come to an end.
Yeah. The gravy train's over, pal. That's the easiest thing you could do, and also it extends to the NHS as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, so Virgin Care is one of the big companies that's out there trying to get contracts to deliver healthcare, which would mean that our NHS, the government, will be paying Virgin to do what the NHS should be doing. One of the most efficient health services in the world.
If we can now cut to this tweet of Chris Williamson. Don Chris Williamson. Great tweet. Have we got this tweet up? Yes. It's a great tweet. And I think this, for me...
I want to see it. There's a delay on our screen.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This tweet, for me, should inform what we do now. I think Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's island, he's now resident in Necker Island, not Britain. So he's trying to avoid tax. And Richard Branson... He's a non-dom, right? And he's saying, well, look, it's because I'm 63, you know, I just want to relax, nothing to do with tax and so on.
And get off your smartphone, man.
Stop tweeting. Stop tweeting. Log out. But first and foremost, I think what we should do is, obviously when Labour's in government, Chris Williamson can be in charge of this. We turn Necker Island into essentially a prison camp for people like Richard Branson and Mike Ashley and...
Philip Green.
And Philip Green, right? Yeah. It's nice.
Rebecca Brooks as well.
Rebecca Brooks.
We're going to send, weren't we?
Bit of gender equality.
Yeah.
It's a nice place. It's nice and hot. It's just that you are nowhere near us. You can't keep on picking our pockets. You can't keep on sucking our blood out of us.
And you won't have to pay tax because we'll have expropriated all your wealth already. Yeah.
But you'll be in a nice hot island. It's okay. I mean, it'll be a prison camp, but it'd be nice. There'll be like HD TVs and stuff.
One. Give them one. They can fight over what channel to watch.
But you know, if you're a Daily Mail reader and you're, they've got fucking Sky Sports and fucking in Category B prisons. Anyway. But it'll be a lot nicer than that. You just won't be anywhere near us. You'll be 10,000 miles away and good riddance. Anyway. Next story. We're moving on to Whopper of the Week.
We've got the Whopper of the Week. It's back. Are we going to have the graphic? Yes. We're back. We're sorting out our internal communication.
What's the Whopper of the Week?
The Whopper of the Week is the Metropolitan Police PR department. Specifically the social media. I mean, maybe it was an intern, who knows?
Mate, they've got 70 press officers. They don't need an intern.
We're gonna show the tweet in a second. I want to give us some context first. So obviously it's Notting Hill Carnival this weekend. Second biggest carnival in the world, or second biggest street festival in the world, after Rio. Are you going to go, Aaron?
I guess so, yeah. Well,
yeah. And if you were to consume something at Carnival, what might you go for?
Well, you know, I'd want to get into the spirit of things. So I'd have, I guess, jerk chicken.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of ting.
Yeah, the grapefruit one.
Yeah, the kind of, it's lilt, basically, right?
Yeah.
Some rum. Maybe some of that nice Jamaican lager.
What about something illegal? Would you take anything illegal? Not would you take, if you were to take something illegal.
When I was younger, I maybe would have taken something quite clean, maybe a pill or something, have a bit of fun.
Yeah. Weed?
You're
not a weed guy, but lots of people smoke weed.
I've always been a stimulants person, not a sedative person.
What about skag?
What's that?
Heroin?
No, I wouldn't.
Not your carnival drug of choice.
I don't think it's anybody's, is it?
It's not anyone's carnival drug of choice. But no one told the intern at the Metropolitan Police Comms Department. So we're going to get that tweet up now, I think. So they tweeted yesterday morning, very proud, bragging. We've just seized 1 kilogram of heroin from Catford. Hashtag Notting Hill Carnival. Social media didn't take very long to rip the piss out of this, fundamentally, because 1, Catford's pretty far away from Notting Hill, and 2, no one takes heroin at a carnival. I mean, it's a downer.
You literally can't move. Yeah. Not that I've ever taken it.
I mean,
I've seen people that have taken it, and I mean, they're literally immobile.
They didn't look very carnivalesque.
No, you certainly can't dance.
So yeah, I mean, this was obviously stupid. I mean, this is part of similar PR cycle that we see before every carnival. So you've got the newspapers, especially the Evening Standard in London, that wants to run some scare stories about how you're likely to get lots of crime, violence, theft at Notting Hill Carnival.
Not that the Evening Standard is racist.
Yeah, no, we're not saying it's about race. We're not saying that this is because this is a festival organised by Afro-Caribbean people. Of course, Glastonbury has just as many stories about violence and drugs, does it?
You get tweeted pictures of like fucking knives and guns.
Yeah, but yeah,
you don't, do you? Right, that's the point.
So you get a sort of cosy relationship between the police and the newspapers. The newspapers want a good story. The police want to show that they're being busy, so you'll often get tweets of them. We got this many knives. We got this much drugs. But this was just obviously absurd. This seizure obviously had nothing to do with Notting Hill Carnival.
That nexus you're saying about the police have like a press department and the papers want a story, that nexus sounds remarkably like fake news.
Ooh, fake news. The fake news establishment. I mean, the difference here, well, this is maybe getting a bit abstract, but when they call something fake news, it's because the source isn't one they recognise. It's not the police, it's not the CEO of a company. Potentially it's someone on the ground. Potentially it's an ordinary person without a title. And that makes it fake news. Whereas if you got told by the PR department at the police, then that's real news.
If it's the Metropolitan Police Service, public communications people saying, we're doing a really great job, that's your source. If it's the CEO of a company which is profiting from everyday people being completely fucked over when they buy their train tickets, that's a good source. But if it's somebody who's saying, look, I can't afford to pay, these trains are too expensive, or if it's a person that lives in Notting Hill says, I don't take heroin when I go to Carnival, sorry, they aren't legit sources because they're not millionaires and they're not the Metropolitan Police Service's PR people.
Yeah, I think we've got to the bottom of it. There was a better drug story this week, though. I don't want to dwell on the Metropolitan Police. So there were 9,000 ecstasy pills.
That's 5,000.
5,000 ecstasy pills. Yeah, we don't want to do fake news. Thanks for putting me up there, Aaron. If we ever say anything you think might be untrue, tweet us. We want to correct it. I mean, I would hate to think we were part of that.
I mean, look, it's fine. 5,000, 9,000 pills. Yeah,
5,000 pills.
Doesn't matter, right, fundamentally.
5,000 orange pills.
Yeah.
And obviously...
Where was this?
It was in northwest Germany. I can't remember exactly the name of the town.
5,000 Pillen? Is that my German?
It's very good. Is that actually German for that?
I think that's probably correct.
I don't speak German.
Doesn't matter.
One of the few languages I don't speak, Aaron. So, 5,000 pills.
Yeah.
And this was a story because they had printed on them the face of Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Very, very realistic, very lifelike. I'm hoping we're going to get the tweet up.
It actually looks...
this picture up.
This looks like Donald Trump, does it?
Yeah, you could, unmistakably.
Wow, that's
I think
impressive.
It says on the back of it, Trump as well.
That's impressive.
There's a 51-year-old and his 17-year-old son in custody currently for getting caught with all of these.
What an absolute legend.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm for decriminalisation of drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a Novara position, but I don't think it seems ridiculous to have people.
Who doesn't want to? Look, it's 2017. Who doesn't want to decriminalise drugs?
But
really, it's one of those things.
Yeah, exactly. But I tweeted it, but we're still not going to vote Lib Dems.
No.
It might be a Green policy actually.
I think Corbyn's got quite a good position on drugs anyway.
What is it?
Decriminalise, but not everything, right?
Yeah,
I think just cannabis. To be honest, I haven't even thought about taking cannabis since about 16. So each to their own. They should all be decriminalised.
Legalise and regulate,
except heroin.
But anyway, so I tweeted this yesterday, this news story, just as you do, and it's a funny story. And I got a DM from a friend in Berlin, saying they have a friend who'd tried one of these pills.
Yeah.
And they'd gone to a festival near Berlin, and someone had given them, the dealer had given them half for free. And in this interaction, we learned the motive for creating these Trump pills. So she's told, this girl, my friend's mate, is told that if she shelves the pill, she'll get another one for free.
What shelving? What you mean? She puts it on the shelf?
No, shelving is you put a pill up your butt.
Okay.
It absorbs it faster. Apparently it's a sensitive area, right? So apparently it's not always the best idea. But this was that the dealer was obsessed with the idea of people putting the Donald up their butts. So he made thousands and thousands of them. So people all over Germany, people all over Northern Europe are shelving Donald Trump.
Why would you put something up your butt like that?
Absorbs faster.
Really? I mean, that's why people put stuff on their gums, no? Again, not that I would know.
Well, a pill, you can rub it on your gums, could you? I mean, anus is a very absorbent.
Okay, good to
That's
know.
why it's a good idea to wear protection.
Good to know. Speaking of speaking of the most awful man in America,
hey,
right? We're going back to Donald Trump. He is continuing his war, his one-man war with the media again. This time at a rally he had last night, in fact, in Phoenix, Arizona, the state capital of Arizona. We're now going to cut to a brief video of that rally.
What happened in Charlottesville strikes at the core of America. And tonight, this entire arena stands united in forceful condemnation of the thugs who perpetrate hatred and violence. But the very dishonest media, those people right up there with all the cameras, and I mean truly dishonest people in the media and the fake media. They make up stories. They have no sources in many cases. They say a source says there is no such thing, but they don't report the facts. Just like they don't want to report that I spoke out forcefully against hatred, bigotry, and violence, and strongly condemned the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, and the KKK.
So that sounds quite good, right? He's saying, look, I criticised the alt-right, the far-right, neo-Nazis, fascism. It was
fake news.
It's fake
Twisting
news.
his words.
Yeah, they twisted his words because, you know, he had said they had no place in the Republican Party in America. It was completely at odds with not just his values, but those of his supporters. But that is completely at odds with what he said just a few days earlier when he drew equivalence, fundamentally, between what he called the alt-left Antifa, who he mentioned again last night, Antifa, and the alt-right. So we're now going to go to that video where he basically says that they're the same thing.
No, it's quite a big delay.
But we're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides. It's been going on for a long time in our country. Not Donald Trump, not Barack Obama. This has been going on for a long, long time. It has no place in America. What is vital now is a swift restoration of law and order and the protection of innocent lives. No citizen should ever fear for their safety and security in our society, and no child should ever be afraid to go outside and play or be with their parents and have a good time. I just got off the phone with the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, and we agreed that the hate and the division must stop, and must stop right now. We have to come together as Americans with love for our nation and true affection, really, and I say this so strongly, true affection for each other.
So, I mean, before we carry on, can I say that with Trump's speeches, they're like so tight and they're clearly relatively well written, but he can't help but add his own flourishes where he goes like, and we have so many great people, we have some really great people. And your favourite one was with the North Korea stuff. What was it, a few weeks ago after North Korea?
So what?
Do you remember?
No, you told me about
he was going, we will show them fire and fury and, quite frankly, power. And it's like, what are you doing?
The fury and the fire should have been the quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because it's just quite underwhelming, right?
And quite frankly, power.
No, but you're right, because in this case with the equivalence thing, clearly someone had written on his bit of paper that so the paper says this kind of hatred, bigotry, violence has no place in America.
Which is very open to interpretation, right?
Yeah.
The proper Trump supporter will be like, yeah, he means both sides, and then the liberal media will be like, he obviously means the far right.
But then he looks up and he says, on both sides.
Both sides. both sides.
Also, good people on both sides.
No, he said that.
Yeah, he said there were good people on both sides. He said they weren't all. He said there were some neo-fascists. They weren't all neo-fascists. There were some good people on both sides. CNN did quite a good segment on this, where they said, actually, we're going to watch an interview with her later. I don't know what her name is, where she presents those Vice News ones. And CNN said, luckily we have someone who was on the ground. So they ask her and they say, was everyone there a neo-fascist? And she was like, yes.
Anyway, I mean, it was without doubt the most explicitly neo-fascist march I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Clearly it was mediated through video, but I mean, to a remarkable extent, frankly. Anyway, last night he also denounced David Duke, white supremacist. He actually used those words, Nazi, ex-KKK, Grand Wizard, I think he's called. But that was at odds with an interview he gave in 2016 when he said he didn't know who David Duke was. Let's cut to that video now. Give me 10 seconds. We're going to add to that video in 10 seconds. David Duke.
Are we still...
David Duke. I mean, I find it. It's quite funny, the whole thing. We're going to show this video, and then we're going to show another video immediately afterwards, showing really big inconsistencies.
But it is over.
I want to ask you about the Anti-Defamation League, which this week called on you to publicly condemn, unequivocally, the racism of former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke, who recently said that voting against you at this point would be treason to your heritage. Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, you know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
But I guess the question from the Anti-Defamation League is, even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say, unequivocally, you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group that I know nothing about. I'd have to look. If you would send me a list of the groups, I will do research on them, and certainly I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. But you may have groups in there that are totally fine, and it would be very unfair. So give me a list of the groups, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
So if you're being charitable with Donald Trump there, he said, I don't know who David Duke is, I have no idea about white supremacism. You could be very charitable because most Americans don't know what those words mean, right? Doesn't mean to say that it's not an important, valuable concept, but they don't. And most Americans have never heard of David Duke. So he says that, and if you're being charitable, which you could be if you're a Republican voter, you probably would be, right? And they
so the context of that video, I couldn't hear it, but he said, so the context is that David Duke endorsed his presidential candidacy in the primaries, and he was asked to denounce.
A lot of and who's a former, like I say, Grand Wizard of the KKK, a lot of very bad people, some real bad hombres were, endorsing him. Yeah. And he said, I can't sort of, castigate somebody I've never heard of, so you could be generous. But the thing is, Donald Trump had heard of David Duke. In fact, there's even a video of him from 2000 talking about David Duke being a bigot. So let's cut to that video.
After months of toying with the idea of running for president on the Reform Party ticket, the billionaire real estate developer has finally made a decision. I sat down with Donald Trump and asked him what he's going to do.
I've made my decision. I'm not going to be running. The party is, as you know, self-destructing. Jesse has left, and that's a problem. And so I will not be running.
Not running for the nomination of the Reform Party, or not considering any run for the presidency this time around?
Not considering a run.
Nothing could change your mind with that?
No. Totally not.
When you say the party is self-destructing, what do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party. Buchanan's a disaster, as we've, covered. Jesse's a terrific guy who just left the party, and he, it's unfortunate, but he just left the party.
So there's clearly something strange going on, right? He is repudiating David Duke last night. He said he didn't know who he was in 2016, yet as you've just seen on that video in 2000, he was speaking with a great deal of clarity and seemingly sincerity when he called David Duke a bigot. So what changed? Right? Why was he so willing to criticise this guy 16 years ago, but not in the run-up to the race for the White House last year? Well, I'll tell you why. Or at least it's my theory why. The same reason why he won't come out and explicitly until yesterday criticise Richard Spencer, the alt-right, is because they form a really significant part of the coalition that's behind him. And two things are important to remember here. Firstly, he can't publicly attack the far right. But if he does, he has to draw an equivalence with movements like Black Lives Matter or Occupy, because they are loathed by the Republican base.
Well, he wants to also depoliticise it, right? So it's not saying, this isn't about politics, he's not denouncing racism per se, he's not denouncing white nationalism. Although, I mean, sometimes he's forced to, but he's obviously very reluctant to, which was why he was reluctant to denounce David Duke in 2016. But he says, it's just violence in the abstract and extremists in the abstract, and he has to completely detach that from the right-wing politics.
Which is a very liberal. I mean, there was an NYT journalist, and she said there was violence on both sides, there was hatred on both sides. Now, there was absolutely violence on both sides. The point is, one side deployed it legitimately, and one side didn't. And there certainly wasn't hatred on both sides, because one side says we want Muslims, blacks, gays out of the country, we want women to be disenfranchised in a whole bunch of ways, and the other side is saying, no, we want everybody to be broadly treated the same. So, yeah, you can't say hatred is on both sides, and in fairness to that journalist, she corrected herself later on Twitter. But fundamentally, and this ties into the broader point about attacking the media, for Trump to retain authority and credibility, he needs to draw equivalence between the radical left and the far right, because of course, either far left or radical Democratic candidate is far more likely to beat him than an establishment Democrat. Furthermore, he has to try and discredit, empty out any confidence within the mainstream media, the whole fake news thing, because I think fundamentally in 2020, when he goes for re-election, maybe you disagree, his chances will live or die by the extent to which the average American agrees with him that CNN, ABC, the NYT are all fake news outlets. So this is a really, really important part of this project.
It's difficult to see if the faith of Donald Trump's support in CNN, MSNBC, NYT can get any lower. I mean, it's if he loses Fox News that he's screwed, right? And that's not going to happen anytime soon.
But I mean, yeah, but I don't think people go to Fox News for confirmation bias.
Yeah. And Donald Trump says they're the only ones who tell the truth.
Of course, there are outlets like that on the left as well, right? But it's these kind of mainstream patrician outlets which could be seen as legitimate by both establishment Republicans and Democrats, which he's going for, right? So he's trying to really evacuate the centre of American politics, both at the level of electioneering, but also the broader ideological apparatus within the media.
Yeah, I suppose because the fear was
which is really important.
Even if people didn't have that much faith in the NYT, etc., beforehand, the Democratic establishment's strategy is basically going to be people were willing to take risk with Donald Trump in 2016. 4 years of failure, they won't see it as a risk anymore, they'll see it as proven that he cannot do this job. But who's going to be telling people about that failure? It will be the NYT, CNN, MSNBC. So you're right, Donald Trump basically has to make sure anything they say is seen as ideological, political, fighting for vested establishment interests.
Yeah, which I think is a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, and he's consistent at it, right?
From his point of view. We have a position, you don't platform fascists. This is a conversation which is ongoing in the left about how far you take that. I mean, I'm quite critical of taking it really far, but I think the position historically comes out of when I'm not platforming fascists, right? And clearly people like Richard Spencer, especially in the immediate aftermath of the surprise Trump win last November, all of a sudden they were on, Mother Jones, they were in Vice. all over the place. And it's like, hey, isn't this interesting? The guy's a neo-Nazi, but he also has a really neat haircut. Isn't that strange? It's like, well, not really, actually. I mean, Adolf Hitler had a neat fucking haircut. So what? So we're going to cut to a stupid as fuck interview between Richard Spencer and somebody from Vice in 2016, and we'll keep it brief.
I want to get these ideas out in the world. Do I have my own personal career ambitions? Yeah, sure. I bet you do too. But it's like, it's about exploiting something. It's about seeing that there's a big change and seeing how you can take advantage of it to further your goals, to further your career, great. But it's always done idealistically. You can criticize me in all sorts of ways. You can totally disagree with everything I think. That's fine. But the idea that I don't do this for idealistic reasons, I just think is totally off base. And I think you know that too.
No. No.
You kind of like say vague things like you're a fraud. What am I? Who am I defrauding?
Well, I mean, I think a core concept in the alt-right sort of defines how fake it is, which is the idea of meme magic. Yeah.
Right.
You
but
meme things
work?
into reality.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you really think that it's real?
Yes.
Do you have Steve Bannon's ear? Can you call him on the phone?
No. But in terms of meme magic, yeah, I think there is something about, I would call it like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We memed alt-right into existence, and it's now almost a household name. We didn't meme Donald Trump into existence, but I think we have inflected Donald Trump's trajectory, and at the very least, we've inflected how he's perceived. So that is meme magic. So it's like you can think of it as like, oh, this is crazy Keck and Pepe the Frog and whatever, or and that's fine. Or you can kind of look at what's happening and understand it on a little bit of a more rational level.
But you didn't create Pepe.
But should it? I didn't create Pepe. No.
No. But you.
So what do you think of that video?
I mean, that was a stupid video. I mean, so I agree. I think the argument about people should definitely cover the far right. I think something that's happened both in terms of the left and the right is that the establishment papers missed the phenomenon. And there is a responsibility to cover what is going on the far right, because I think there was a big political force emerging that we didn't know about. We got a big, massive surprise with the bang of Donald Trump. I mean, it would have been helpful to have some warning there. But if you're going to have a fascist on your show, you're going to have to interrogate them. And I think this is the thing with, do you platform or do you not platform? So I don't think it should be about moral purity. So I don't think it should be, oh, we only platform good people. Yeah. But what it should be is about, if you have a platform, you have a responsibility. And
for strategic choices.
For strategic choices, yeah. And if you use that platform to, I mean, that was basically giving Richard Spencer a show himself. He did all the talking. He wasn't presented with any difficult information at all. So
for me, it personified kind of like early noughties, pre-crisis, hipster Ironism versus like a fascist, a Nazi. And Spencer's quite weird, right? He'll say, yes, I am an ethno-nationalist. I don't believe in the American Constitution. Most people don't say that, right? Even in the circles he mixes in. And she was just like, I think that's kind of strange. What was that? What was the thing he was saying
the
best bit.
He was saying, troll me. And she says, well, I think you're a phony.
And then he's like,
well, I don't think I'm a phony. But anyway,
but that for her is like, you're a phony. He's like, well, I do believe it, and I've risked fucking loads. Of course he fucking believes it. I mean, as if that's the worst, like, psychological assault on him, that, like, he doesn't really believe in these things. What, again, it's about, like, the kind of ethical distanciation of, like, irony. Oh, it's ironic. No, it's not ironic. He wants a purely white America. Get it into your head. It's really important. He's not fucking around. Anyway.
I felt bad for her in that video because she obviously went in underprepared. She didn't know enough about. I mean, the producer set up the video, right? It wasn't her, and she did.
Yeah, this is the aftermath of the Trump win. If it was before, I agree.
She did what was actually quite an interesting video about Charlottesville a week ago, or she presented it. But it worked then because the people she was interviewing were so like stupid that they could make a fool of themselves. Whereas Richard Spencer,
personal attack. It's not personal attack. I just think, like, look, again, we're talking about you have to take responsibility for your platform, and it didn't. I mean, that vice genre of journalism, it can work in certain contexts. You can't do it with a relatively articulate, like fascist intellectual, which is what he is. Right? I don't think he's a very good one because I think he completely overcooks it, and we're not at that stage yet where they can do that stuff, get away with it. Bannon knows that. That's why he's a bit smarter about things. I think they believe the same things fundamentally. But yeah, and you have to, like you say, take the responsibility for those choices. Anyway, moving on. A final story. And of course, the summer's coming to an end. It's very cold outside. What's been the sleeper hit this summer? For me, it has got to be Despacito with Justin Bieber.
And Daddy Yankee.
And Daddy Yankee.
Justin Bieber was a late comer to that, so it was a Daddy Yankee and I can't remember someone
else's
song.
Remix, right?
And then,
cover.
Yeah, that's actually the most successful one. That's got the most on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then they bring in Justin Bieber to get the American audience.
Right.
I back the project. Anyway, who else is the sleeper hit of this summer, Aaron?
Well, some people are also talking about another sleeper hit, and because it's a sleeper hit, you've not heard about it, perhaps. And it's Jeremy Corbyn's polling. Jeremy Corbyn's poll ratings are the sleeper hit of summer 2017. We had a poll from Opinion, I think 3-4 days ago, put him on 35%.
35 is not mega high, is it? But
well, I mean, we'll get back to that in a second. Yeah, she was at 31%. Labour on 43.
That's
the
high.
Tories on 40. Now, what's important is that Jeremy Corbyn in the last general election was seen as the Achilles heel of Labour, right? The manifesto was the strength. So if they're 3 ahead and their alleged Achilles heel is polling ahead of the Prime Minister, the Tories were in deep trouble.
Yeah.
And given that, even on the night of the general election, every poll, even YouGov, had them behind. I think they were 5, 6, 7 behind on average in the poll of polls. To be ahead when politics has kind of been switched off all summer is kind of interesting. So what's your explanation for that?
Well, the explanation for it, well, one thing, it might actually be higher than that. So the polls have, in that general election, significantly underestimated the support for Labour and significantly underestimated the support for Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
And that was because people who were moving towards the Labour Party weren't getting picked up. And also, people were assuming they wouldn't vote. And I haven't seen much information that suggests the pollsters have already sort of like corrected those mistakes. So they might be missing the same people when we might be on 47, who knows?
So would you, given this was we had to answer this for like 2 years. If there was a general election tomorrow, Labour would lose 100 seats and there would be like 1931. If there was a general election tomorrow, which there won't be, and we can't...
Not with those poll ratings, Theresa May's not
we
gonna
can't
win
count
one
our
for a while.
chickens, and we're not planning to. A Corbyn win of any kind would be remarkable. But if there's a general election tomorrow, what do you think would happen?
Oh, we'd cruise it. We'd win it, mate.
What would be the size of the majority?
Oh, don't do questions like that to me. I'm just going to go for a random number.
But it's not going to happen, right? So, see,
50.
I think we'd get 50 to 100.
Yeah.
But we're not going to have a general election tomorrow, right?
Yeah. But it's about keeping it up. So, yeah, I mean, not much has happened in this period. Politics is kind of on freeze. We've had 2 summers in a row now of inescapable politics. A general election, a referendum, Labour leadership election, then this general election. I think people are ready...
Two Labour leaderships, right?
2 Labour leadership elections. I think people are ready for a break. I think the public are ready for a break. People high up in the Labour Party are ready for a break. Although Corbyn, credit to him, is still touring around the country giving speeches here and there. But no, it's looking good. The momentum's with the Labour Party.
And this is the first silly season which we've had for 3 years.
Yeah, and...
Right? Because last summer and the summer before that, everybody was talking about Jeremy Corbyn in the media. And now, this is what August is about. Stupid as fuck stories about people putting pills that have Donald Trump's face up their arse. That's what August is meant to be about.
I think that would be big news in any month of the year.
Really?
No,
I think it's a silly season story, right?
Story.
As is, the Met tweeting fucking a burrito of heroin.
I mean, I think if it was last year, then we'd be seeing in this silly season more of that crappy dirt about Corbyn that no one cared about. Something he said in the 1980s. But I think the newspapers are probably in a little bit of crisis of they don't really know what smear to go for now because they know that nothing sticks.
It's been exhausted. We've got smear fatigue.
Yeah. Maybe we're going to become a more civilised society.
I don't think so.
Now that all the smears have been done already.
No. The fake news, MSM, Westminster complex is alive and well. And that's
not underestimate their power.
Don't underestimate them. That's why you need to go to support.novaramedia.com to help create a new media for different politics, because the fake news is not going to stop. So I'm not going to say true news. I'm going to say the real news. Remember True News? Your boy Russell Brand?
The Trues.
Well, I know, but it was like a portmanteau, right?
Yeah, it was a portmanteau, but it was the Trues.
Were you a fan of that portmanteau, Trues?
No.
I thought it was kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
We do need an obverse.
Very successful, though.
We need a sort of, what would be the mirror image of fake news? Because we're not the real news, that's silly. We're politically committed news, which would like to see, you know, humanity not essentially descend into millennia of catastrophe and barbarism, which is where we're headed. I don't know what you'd call that. Politically committed? I don't know.
What's the opposite of fake news? I think probably real news. Anyway, tweet it to...
Tweet it.
We'll do a little competition. We'll probably give away a book, actually. I've been meaning to set up that for a while.
Okay, well, let's do that.
Look out this week for some competitions.
Let's do that. If you don't already, like us on Facebook. We're doing the fix every week. Follow us on Twitter. We will be back with the fix next week. I think we're going to be back next Monday.
Yeah, Michael, it is Carnival.
Michael doesn't want to do it. I know, but we've made a decision to do it every Monday, Michael.
I'm going to be all skagged out.
Stuff happens on Mondays.
I'm going to be
Michael's like, I'm on a date. So, tune in on Monday. If it's not on Monday, it's going to be Wednesday. I really want it to be on Monday, but that's up to Michael. And we're going to be doing this every week on a Monday.
It's not going to be on Monday.
So tune in, regularly, after this.
Yeah, after this.
It's going to be on Monday, so tune in. We're also back with Tisky Sow. We just had an episode go up.
Yep.
A few days ago. That's on the Novara Media website, novaramedia.com. We're going to be doing videos of that, right?
Yeah.
Soon.
We're getting high tech.
I mean,
you might have noticed a few sort of like technical difficulties today. Expect in 2 months.
A month.
A month?
A month.
Novara Media slicker than Newsnight.
I think so. Slicker than Newsnight.
And whatever is the opposite of fake news.
We'll be like, get rid of media from politics. Slicker than Newsnight. Well, I mean, with Nick fucking Ferrari, are you kidding me? You look at Nick Ferrari and you think,
I'll set you off now, come on.
The minute the cameras are off, the guy gets a fucking doner kebab covered in like chili sauce. Anyway, he's a real sloppy bollocks. On that note, we'll see you next week. This is Novara Media.
See you next week.
Over
Enjoy Carnival.
Don't.
Over the last 10 years, things have really changed.
Victory for real people. Us. It's about us.
But for all the darkness, every cause has an effect.
40 students on the roof of Millbank.
Tienen mucha experiencia.
For all the talk of change, the present moment is really one of crisis.
A crisis of democratic representation.
Of identity.
A climate crisis.
Of a failing economic model which isn't working for most people.
We can't have a media that's beholden to advertisers or the political ambitions of oligarchs.
Which is why, in 2013, we founded Novara Media.
Unlike corporate media, we are funded by our subscribers.
There's no tax avoiders, there's no oil money, and there's no lords. What we're creating is media for you, which quite simply, you make possible.
We're looking to raise £40,000. That will allow us to not only keep on paying our contributors, but give them a little bit more, as well as keep our studio and take our fantastic Novara events nationwide.
To help us get there, go to support.novaramedia.com and give a one-off donation, or even better, sign up for a subscription.
We've already achieved so much, but the truth is, we've barely started.